Hey everybody out there, David Patrick Wilson here in Wilson's Corner, my little corner of the studio here, where I get to vent and talk my stuff. You know, we're prepared. This is we're in the last week before we open next Saturday in gin games, so this is going to be I'm kind of brief, but it's really interesting taking a look at this play. This play was written in 1978, and it was about the issues of retirement homes and, people who are, our senior citizens and the abandonment of our senior citizens by and large by their families. And, and both Nan and I, I'm doing it with my wife, Nan Gill, and it's a two-character play, and boy, it's a lot of writing, I'm telling you. It's a really great play. But unfortunately, the issues remain the same, one of the biggest factors during the COVID period, of adjustment. Oh, let me turn that thing off. Got to shut down a fan over here. I got all kinds of stuff going on. It's summertime and it's hot. The issues of our senior citizens remain the same, and the pig in the White House has just abandoned his own peers, his own demographic group. Obviously he doesn't have to worry about anything. He's going to be paid a salary, and he's going to be pampered and taken care of just like his fat butt has always been. But the vast majority of American seniors who have, worked for years and years to secure their lives and their, and lived through all kinds of things. I lived through the Vietnam War, I lived through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and, Iraq, and now all of this current nonsense that continues to persist, that seems to constantly persist no matter what era you're in. But one of the most daunting of all of the issues, and that this play deals with, is the abandonment and subsequent loneliness of many of our citizens. Now, thank God, Nan and I have a wonderful life. We love each other, we care for each other. We've got one of the things that I've discovered that was the most important thing. I've had many failed relationships, failed marriages, as have these characters in this play. They've both had failed marriages, and children that have just disappeared in their lives for one reason or another. We've also had that occur in our lives, but we have each other, and it's a beautiful thing. We have a wonderful. I've never had a better relationship. I've never had a better life. I've never enjoyed myself more, but I'm so fortunate, and it's really because God is in my life, and God is between us. That's what should be between every couple, standing there with them, between them, hovering over them, arms around them, should be, the God that I know in any event, who is a compassionate, loving God, the God of Jesus Christ, the Father, And that doesn't exist in a lot of places. And this play is really rough, man. It's got some very rough language, some very difficult things to deal with, especially now that I've been reborn, as a Christian. Some of it is really difficult to deal with, but a lot of the play revolves around this main character, who is very, he's bordering on cynical, but he insists that he's not cynical. He's realistic, which is what most cynics cop to. I'm just being realistic. I'm not cynical, But Weller Martin is the character's name, and it was played originally on Broadway by Hume Cronyn, and Jessica Tandy played Fonzia Dorsey. And so, Nan and I, in exploring these characters and exploring these issues, have had to confront a lot of things that are in our lives and that we see around us, and how we care for our aged, who are the ones who not only brought the next generations into the world, but provided a landscape and a palette from which they could create their own lives, which is really what the objective should be. We don't. I never would have expected my kids to hang around too long. Although my grandmother lived with us until she passed, and God love her, and I loved her. She was a great resource in my life, and that's another thing, is that our senior citizens are a vital source of information, real information, who have had the experience and who have lived through the circumstances that provide the information for being able to survive the current situation. And it's a really beautifully written play, but I got to tell you, some of the language is rough. Weller has a real problem with swearing and taking the name of the Lord in vain, and I've had to deal with that, and I've been talking to God with it about that every day, and what it boils down to is she is a woman of great faith and great belief, and she believes in him for whatever the reason. He's a very coarse, hard-edged individual who, and the whole thing revolves around this game of gin that they play, and he, what happens during the course of the games that they play. It's a beautiful piece that leads to a point and a place that we've actually taken it to a place that I don't believe any production ever has. It was originally directed by Mike Nichols, I believe, on Broadway, and then I think later in a production of it, and a filmed production of it. But I was never satisfied with how it ended. It was not it just wasn't satisfactory. It just didn't ring true to me. That was the intention or the purpose of the piece, and so we've redefined some of it. We haven't changed any of the text or the context. It's still in a nursing home. It's still these two people who are trying to find some meaning in where they are in life. And it's like, everybody's at whatever place in your life you are, you should always be looking to examine who you are and how you're being at that stage of your life. But these two, there's an awful lot of latent energy, both good and bad, between them. But ultimately, it's what transpires in the end that brings into focus, the clear focus, that it's really essential that if you want to live a life worth believing in, then you're going to have to believe in something greater than your life, than just your life. That if you, it's not about an avoidance of poverty or an avoidance of loneliness or an avoidance of isolation. It's really about, it's all about constantly seeking a higher truth, a better solution, a better answer to the things in everybody's life that tend to take away from their experience, the goodness and the positiveness of what God put us all here to be and do. Now, I truly believe that we all have free will, so we get to choose who and what we want to be in life. And but that's a partnership, And personally, I love my wife more than any human being on the planet. Absolutely love her, But there's no competition between her and how I feel about God and Jesus Christ. That's never going to be a battle. There's never going to be a time that I believe and that I love her more than I love him, and that I love more than I love Jesus, who died for me, for my sins. And, Weller continues to sin constantly by how he conducts himself. And but he's frustrated by this godly woman who really takes him to task on how he's been and how he deals with things when confronted by his own shortcomings. So, it's a beautiful play. It's a great play. We're doing it with the Catskill Public Theater. We're going to be doing it in Livingston Manor this coming weekend, and then I think the following week, or maybe it's 2 weekends, and then the following 2 weekends are in, I think there's one in Conneaga Lake. The 2 of them are up in Sullivan County, and then there's one that's we're going to be down, one weekend we're going to be down here for our production in, for the full run of production. There's 3 plays that are being done in repertory. 2 new ones, or fairly new. Renegade, which was originally staged last year, they're restaging, and another one called Woodstock Ripples, which is kind of interesting. I was almost going to take that on too, but this play Gin Game is so challenging that I didn't believe that I could handle it both. So. But I was at Woodstock, so I know it's really interesting to see what they're doing. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be the Maharishi. I'm going to offer the blessing, as it were. At least in recording, which I have to do today. Thanks for reminding me. In any event, but we're going to be here in Orange County in the Black Dirt area, right? Pine Island, at a restaurant called. I don't have that information in front of me. But it's as I said, you can look it up. Catskill Public Theater. It's online. You can look it up on our website. You'll have the information on willygilly.com. So you're more than welcome to come and check that out. You can buy tickets there. Actually, they're 501c3, so it's a suggested donation. There are dining opportunities, right? There are restaurants and catering that we've got going on. So it's going to be a real great event, regardless of how you view it or when you view it. We're definitely looking forward to it. But boy, I'll tell you what, it's a lot of work. And one of the things that I want everybody out there who has their grandparents that are still alive, or parents that are living in nursing homes or senior living facilities. I invite you to take a good look at how you're dealing with them, how you treat them, how their lives are going, because they spent their lives believing in your life and giving that to you and everything that they could besides that. Some good, some bad, but always, for the most part, in most cases, from a very good place, a good place of parenting, and we're going to have to get better at this. We've got to get better at how we deal with not just our aging, but how parents deal with their children, so that when it comes their turn and it's their time to move on out to pasture, so to speak, that the experience is one worth living, And once again, for me, I can't even imagine what it would be like without having God centered in my life, without having Jesus Christ as part of my very existence. I don't do very many things. I don't try anything without him. Everything I go into with a silent small prayer, that he's going to be with me and that he's going to carry me through. Because, man, I know I can't do it on my own, and I know I can do all things through him. So in any event, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to tune in to Wilson's Corner here. We're going to be here. Like I said, you can find us on our site at willygilly.com. You can find us, at AFSPA.org. That's my hat here. That's our 501c3. that we have the Academy of Film, Television, Stage, and Performing Arts, which I had to postpone classes this week. I moved them over to start again for the summer sessions next week because of this production. I didn't want to short the production in favor of my own commercial success. Unlike the current president of the United States, who's all about me first and to hell with the rest of you. In any event, God bless him. I pray for him every day. And I pray that the Lord will, take him as soon as possible. In any event, God bless you all. Have a great day, and we'll see you again in Wilson's Corner real soon. Bye.